All right, Shalom, brothers, coming back to you with part 2 of this very same topic, who it is that Christ came for, to whom salvation is extended. We're going to go ahead and pick it up where we left off. So the last verse we hit was Matthew chapter 10, verses 5 through 7. And we went to 2 Kings chapter 17, starting in verse 13, all the way down to verse, I believe it was 23, 24, to explain why Christ said, don't go to Samaria. So now that we got that behind us, it takes us to St. John chapter 4, verses 1 through 22, where Christ had to pass through Samaria, and while he stayed in Samaria, he had an encounter with a Samaritan woman. So the beautiful thing is, what we just read in 2 Kings chapter 7 gives us the foundation to understand what was the significance of this meeting, of this encounter that he had with this woman. Okay? So let us go. We're going to go to St. John chapter 4, beginning at verse 1.
Okay, verse 1. When therefore the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, though Jesus himself baptized not, but his disciples, he left Judea and departed again into Galilee.
Now, let's go through that. Let's take the people where we're going through. Galilee was one of the northern towns. Now, let's go to the map during the time of Christ. Palestine during the time of Jesus. So when it says he was in Judea, this was Judea. Judea, the kingdom of Judah, became known from the time that the Greeks conquered it as Judea. Judea is a Greco-Roman way of saying Judah. So it tells you Christ had to depart from Judea and he was headed up into Galilee. Now when you read the scriptures, Christ was born in Bethlehem. But he was raised, reading the scriptures, he was raised in Galilee. This region right here is called Galilee, and within Galilee, he was raised in the city of Nazareth. Alright, so read that again.
He left Judea.
So he left this region, go ahead.
And departed again into Galilee.
And this is where he went, alright? So he's going to show you. In order to get from Judea to Galilee, he had to pass through Samaria. Now that's what it's going to say. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And he must needs go through Samaria.
He must needs go through Samaria. He had to pass through Samaria to get to Galilee. Go ahead.
Then cometh he to a city of Samaria.
Oh, go ahead.
Which is called Sychar.
Okay, let's look for Sychar. Hold on. Right here. This is where he was. Now, it's going to tell you. Well, it's going to be down. Focus on my hand. Sychar. Go ahead.
Next the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph.
Now Jacob was the forefather of all the tribes. So whenever you hear the term Jacob, he's talking about Israel, or the same person Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 6. Now Jacob's well was there. Jesus therefore, being weary with his journey.
Okay. So you see in Sychar, we can come back to the table. You see where he is in Sychar. So he's in Sychar, and he stops at the well, which is in the midst of the region of Samaria, where he had told his disciples not to go. Go ahead.
Sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water.
Now there was a woman that was of Samaria. In other words, this woman was a descendant of one of the people that were put in there. Go ahead.
Jesus saith unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat.
So Christ is sitting on the mouth of the well, and a woman pops up from Samaria, and he tells this woman to give him something, to draw him some water, basically. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans.
So it shows you. Now you understand the history behind that. People have been reading this thing for years, and they understood the history behind it. So the woman comes, she's from Samaria. Christ orders her to give him some water, and she goes, whoa. She was astonished that Christ, being a Jew, would even speak to her. It says, because the Jews have no dealing with the Samaritans. But now we know why. We know that because for approximately at that time, 700 years, they had those people of Samaria were transplants. So they were foreigners, so the Jews would have no dealing with foreigners. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Jesus answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he wouldn't have given thee living water.
Now, people like to interpret that as though Christ is actually offering her salvation. And he's not saying that. He's basically kind of answering her sharp. He's telling her, you don't know who it is you're talking to. Listen to this. Jesus answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that saith to thee. In other words, if you knew what it is the Most High was giving, and who it is that's telling you to give him some water to drink, you would be asking me for the water instead of me telling you to give me some water. That's what he's saying. He's basically saying, if this woman had any idea of who Christ was and why he was sent, she would have asked him for water instead of him demanding water of her. Go ahead.
Verse 11. The woman saith unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep.
Now listen to that. In other words, what Christ was mentioning went straight over her head. She said, what you talking about water? You ain't even got nothing to draw the water with. Go ahead. And the well is deep.
From whence then hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob?
Now stop. Now this goes to show you the confusion. Now the woman just got through saying what? That Christ, she just got through verbally acknowledging, recognizing that Christ was a Jew, that she was a Samaritan, that the two were distinct people, and that they had no dealings. Now she's coming back and claiming to be a descendant of who Christ is from. I know she's claiming to be a descendant of the same person that Christ is a descendant from. Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well? But she's a Samaritan, so how can she be? In other words, how can she have this in her mind, understanding that she's a Samaritan, a distinct, different people from the Jews, but at the same time claim to be a descendant of from the very same people who the Jews descend from? We're going to go back to, read them down first. Go ahead.
And drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle.
Now I want you to read verse 12 again.
Verse 12. Art thou greater than our father Jacob?
Art thou greater than our father? She's claiming to be a descendant of Jacob after having claimed to be not a descendant of Jacob. So I'm going to show you how is it that this woman could know that she is a Samaritan and that the Samaritans are Jews. The Samaritans and Jews are to be distinguished, but then turn around and not be able to make the distinction that the Jews and the Samaritans have different ancestors. We're going to show you what happened. We're going to go right back to 2 Kings chapter 17, and this time we're going to pick it up from verse 24. Did we stop off at verse 23 or 24?
23.
So let's read it from verse 23 on through, okay? Go ahead. Now you will see what took place. Continue.
Verse 23 of 2 Kings chapter 17. Unto the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets. So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. Verse 24. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon.
So we're reiterating this. Israel was taken out of Samaria and taken up into Assyria. Then the king of Assyria took men from Babylon, and then from different cities. He's going to name all the cities again. Go ahead.
And from Kuphar, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the city of Samaria instead of the children of Israel.
Now this woman was a descendant of these people and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. Go ahead.
And they possessed Samaria.
And they possessed Samaria. Talking about these foreigners. Continue.
And dwelt in the cities thereof.
And they dwelt in the cities thereof. Now, so if we can understand that, then how is it that this woman is claiming to be a descendant of Jacob? Now we're going to show you what took place. Go ahead. Verse 25.
And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there.
When these foreigners, when these people that were from Babylon began to dwell in the cities of Samaria,
that they feared not the Lord.
When it says they feared not the Lord, meaning they did not keep the customs that the Israelites were supposed to keep. In other words,